Hey, Hope here with another video for you today. This time we're taking on Everkeep's Zoral Ja. Starting off is Actualize, a simple raid wide. The boss then casts Multi-Directional Divide. This is a two-part mechanic. First, he will cleave the intercardinal directions. This leaves marks in the ground that will expand and create a grid of line AoEs. To tell where is safe in the grid, visualize every line expanding. Additionally, the boss will cast either forward half or backward half. You need to either be behind or in front of the boss, the same direction the cast bar states. You also need to be on the same side as the glowing sword for forward and opposite side for backward half. It's easier to imagine this as two distinct things. First, the forward half or backward half will be all of the area in front of or behind him, starting at the edge of his hitbox. Next, the glowing sword will make an entire half of the arena unsafe. This creates an offset 90-degree safe zone. Then we have Multi-Directional Divide, this time with tank tethers from the cast Regicidal Rage. Have everyone stay stacked in the safe spot that you dodged to in the prior mechanic. Tanks will run closer to the boss and take the tethers away from the party. You can have the group 2 tank go left and the group 1 tank go right after picking up their tethers. The party just needs to find a safe spot after the tethers have been picked up. Dawn of an Age is a raid wide that changes the arena and advances to the next phase. Vollok summons swords on the 4 platforms he just created. Sync selects 2 platforms that will sync their swords to your platform, creating an explosion on every square that has a sword. First, we solve the swords. What I like to do is start by identifying if the center tiles are safe, as they usually are. It's worth noting a few shortcuts for this. There are 2 types of outer platform sword patterns. I advise making this mechanic easier by picking an intercardinal direction to orient to. In my case, northwest. This gives us a nice square arena. Now, the first type of sword pattern only affects the outer tiles and only the non-diagonal tiles. The other affects both middle and outside tiles on the diagonals. This essentially gives you 2 solutions. Either you have 1 or 0 affecting the center tiles. In this case, you will always have 2 safe spots in the middle diagonal to each other. Or you have 2 platforms affecting the center, in which case all outside non-corner tiles are safe from swords. So you find the glowing outer tiles and identify if they are both middle. If they aren't, you can start middle. Then, if you have no middle swords, you're done. If you have 1, then 2 squares are safe. If you have 2, then you need to go to a non-corner outside and you're safe. Now, the reason I focus on the middle and not the outer is the boss will also cast Half Full. This is a half room cleave on the side of the glowing sword. So we just need to be on the safe side of this in addition to the swords. Next is Greater Gateway. This will make bridges between the platforms. There will be 2 platforms that have only blue bridges, and 2 platforms that have fire and wind bridges. He will spawn 1 sword on one of the platforms with elemental bridges, and 2 swords on one of the platforms that has blue bridges with the cast Blade Ward. Forged Track will cause these to travel forward, go along their bridge, and into your platform. The swords passing a blue bridge do damage on the line that they end up on. Fire bridge swords will deal damage on the line they cross and the line on both sides. Wind swords will deal damage on their line and knock back all players. This is preventable. Note that all effects go off simultaneously, so you do not need to get knocked into a safe spot, you need to start in one. The easiest way to solve is to look at the elemental sword platform. This will give you a column to stand in. For wind, you stand on the column next to the wind sword that has room for you to be knocked back. For fire, you stand 2 tiles away from the sword's path. Now, without changing this column, look at the 2 blue swords. You need to find the row that is not being struck by the sword. Either look at the sword and identify where each goes and stand in a safe square, or what I do is look at each square and see if it is connected to a sword. If it is, move over one until it's not. You'll only ever have to check 2 tiles. After this, everyone gets a yellow marker over them. These will cause the square you stand on to explode. Everyone needs to spread after the cast finishes. Next is Actualize, another raid wide that resets the arena. This is a lot of damage back to back, so be sure to heal and mitigate. Next is Projection of Triumph. The arena will be set in a 4x4 grid of swords, and the northeast and southwest walls will have a line crossing the arena. When the line crosses, the effect of the bubble will go off on the swords they touch. There will always be 2 opposite effects happening. One side will have a small AoE on the sword, the other will have a donut AoE around the sword. You can simplify it by being on the sword for donut or between for the AoE. They slowly advance the arena, and after the second hit, a second line will be created on each side and do the same thing. That is easy enough alone, but the boss will also cast backward half or frontward half during this. The cast starts on the 3rd hit of the lines and finishes shortly before the 5th hit. This always leaves 2 swords open that are on different rows, so one will always be safe. I prefer to start on the side that has small AoEs, as I can stand between the swords until the 3rd hit when the boss starts its cast. From here, I take a sword that is on the back or front of the boss according to his cast bar, and after it goes off, step into the corner between all 4 swords for the cleave. Then move into a safe sword. Once this is fully resolved, you go middle where it is safe as the boss starts to cast Actualize, clearing the arena. Recasting Projection of Triumph, everyone gets a debuff. This is essentially a stack marker when the new line that always spawns north touches the player. This is a mechanic that requires a lot of coordination and swapping of spots with a priority, or it would be if Square hadn't decided to make the outside of the arena do almost no damage. So instead of solving the mechanic, we pull the boss south, wait for the line to approach, step into the border of the arena until the line goes away. During this, one take will be targeted with a Tank Buster, Bitter Whirlwind, so they may want to invuln here. This oversight was brought to my attention by Yumiya from The Balance. Dawn of an Age is cast again to change the arena and advance the phase. Drum of Vollok will cast, and either all supports or all DPS will be targets of enumeration pairs. This means split into support DPS pairs at the column of the arena closest to the other platform. If you have the enumeration, step towards the boss. If you do not, stack with your partner in a way such that the knockback from them will put you on the other platform. The boss teleports center and casts Vollok. This summons 2 large swords that will explode in the 4 squares they touch. Coming up is Sync. Solve this by having both roles take the 4 available squares closest to the boss. Melee in front, ranged back, group 1 on the edge, group 2 center, as you get the yellow markers from before, exploding and syncing your squares to the other platform. This all goes off as the boss casts Arrow 3, summoning 2 tornadoes, 1 on each side. The boss will cast either backward half or forward half, forcing one of the platforms to stand in the tornado to knock themselves to the other side. This is a directional knockback, so be careful how you aim. Next is Duty's Edge, which is a double wild charge stack. Have both tanks stand in front and soak as a team. Stay stacked close for burning chains. Once the chains appear, you need to create distance from your partner, which is determined by roles, DPS with supports. To do so, the players who did not have to use the tornado before have to use it now. This isn't quite enough distance, so make sure you continue to run away until your chain breaks. Actualize resets the arena, followed by another Projection of Triumph. Like before, the lines slowly cross and hit the swords. In the middle of the mechanic, this time is a half circuit with either a set of swords in the hitbox or outside. This creates either half the arena inside his hitbox or outside his hitbox is safe. I again have my 3rd hit soaked in one of the inner rows as the cast starts. By the next hit, I soak on the correct side of the boss, then adjust to a tower in or outside the hitbox on this side, followed by going middle where it is safe. Next is Regicidal Rage. Have the party stay generally where it was safe from the cleave, and let the tanks pick up the tethers and move away. Following this is Projection of Turmoil. We're using the same gimmick, but we have Tank LB3 if we really wanted it. But during this, you will need to handle 3 half-fulls, dodging to the correct side of the mechanic. You will be on the outside of the arena during the third half-full, and run back in for the Tank Buster. Dawn of an Age leads us back to the platform phase. Vollok brings out the non-elemental swords shortly after he casts Sync, and this works the same as the first time you did it. But this time we get the yellow stones once again. You can handle these after Sync. After this we have another Duty's Edge. Remember that this is a double WoW charge stack, so have the tanks be the closest members. Greater Gateway is recast, and we do the elemental swords again. Don't forget the yellow spread stones, followed by Actualize. This clears the arena, and we do another multi-directional divide, comboed with a backwards or forwards half. Then it's the Enrage cast, Actualize. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Good luck!